Hello everyone. Today I wanted to talk about another recent Criterion release. This is Ratcatcher from 1999, and this is directed by Lynn Ramsey. It's her first feature film. She had made 3 short films, award-winning short films. They're also included in this Criterion Blu-ray release, and this is a Blu-ray upgrade from a title that's been in the Criterion Collection DVD title from 2002. This movie is set in the Glasgow slums of the 1970s, where there is a trash strike, and so we see trash everywhere. Rats. We actually don't see a whole lot of rats, judging by the title. I thought there was going to be a lot of rat catching going on, but they do pop up here and there. But they also live, and these slums are adjacent to a toxic canal, of which the kids are immersed in a couple of scenes, and I was wondering, boy, did they really go in that canal? But you do learn in the supplements that despite being a low-budget film, there was no way they were putting anybody in that canal, so they actually built their own canal. And so the film concentrates on one child. I guess he's about 10 or 11, and the whole effects that this kind of slum existence has on children. They do have, he has an older sister, younger sister, parents living together. The father goes out to work, although they appear to have no money, probably because the father's always drunk. We get lice. We get a couple long scenes where there's lice inspections and lice killing off the lice in the children's hair. So it does present very miserable conditions, and for me at least, very disturbing moments. There's a tragedy early on and also a neighborhood that is in which older boys terrorize the younger boys, sadistic bullies, and a couple scenes where these bullies, not one but 2 scenes, one which were right outside the door, another where we're in the room where there is underage, and I'll use a vulgar term of today, gangbang going on. And it's handled, as well as a tragedy, it's sort of handled as a matter-of-fact kind of approach. It's sort of like, well, this is a day in the life. This is what you go through in these kind of slum conditions. Another uncomfortable moment, and moments really, because they're not brief, is the underage nudity in this film, and I'm not sure you could get away with that today, although it's not addressed in the interviews and the supplements. And I imagine they're there. I'm pretty sure they're there to evoke a kind of tenderness, that even amongst all this miserable conditions, there is a sense of human tenderness, a cleansing, because they're bathtub scenes, that humanity will rise up and make an appearance, even in these kind of depressing conditions. Even the father, a drunk, has his moment where he is a hero. He's not respected by his children very much, but then they're almost forced to respect him. So these are sort of complex characters. We see bits and pieces of them. We stick with the one child, but it's an episodic kind of movie. But there's no denying the miserableness of it. Now, I also I've seen Morven Caller and You Were Never Really Here. I've not seen, we need to talk about Kevin. I've not seen that, but I think, it's pretty consistent. And in fact, in You Never Really Here, Joaquin Phoenix may be a contender for the most miserable character that ever was a main lead in a film. It's a very good film, by the way. I'm not putting that film down. But that's within the milieu of a sort of neo-noir, where here Lynn Ramsey resists the social realism that's applied to this, because she does have these poetic moments. She had started as she had done a lot of photography. She had ambitions to be a painter. She went to film school. She was originally intending to go to art school, but then she decided to go to film school as a cinematographer. She was advised in the interview, even though she had never done anything in film, but she was advised, maybe you're a director. No, I want to be a cinematographer. I love images. But eventually she saw her way to that directing was her, should be her ambition. And she talked, and there's 2 interviews here with Lynn Ramsey. One is from 2001 and a newer one from 2020. And one of the interesting parts of this interview is the influence early on for her when she saw an avant-garde film from 1943, I think it was by Maya Deren, who was also kind of, she talked about various aspects of what film can do, what it can mean sort of theoretically. And she saw a narrative as being horizon. Movies can be both, either or both, in Lynn Ramsey's case, horizon and vertical. Horizon is the narrative, the storyline. We proceed from A to B to C, and then there is the vertical, which is the poetic. And we get these poetic, painterly images that do come about where the narrative sort of just pauses and we spend this moment in time. Sometimes we linger on it. Some of them are very, very beautiful. So that is sort of the counterbalance to the miserableness, at least in this film. We also get a interview with Alvin Kukler, who is the cinematographer. This is, I think, from 2020 as well, looking back on all the challenges that they faced. They really didn't know what they were doing. And Lynn Ramsey also in her 2 interviews talks about how, what are we going to do? She was advised, I think, by Derek Jarman, work with your friends. So these were all her friends, but they were all inexperienced. And we're working with children who were also inexperienced, although the mother and father are played by professional actors. But we do have some really nice poetic moments in this film, and even involving a mouse. That's probably my favorite image in the whole movie, is the mouse. But the film looks great. The cinematographer did great. He thought he was failing miserably. He was told by the lab that they can't do nothing with this film, and then he and the producer went to watch the rushes, and they thought it was beautiful, and indeed it is. And Lynn Ramsey herself has a great eye. Although Kukler said in this film, at least, she really had her hands full with the inexperienced cast of children and trying to get the best kind of performances that you could get out of them. But they were all seeing their way, and that's part of the charm of this film too. We're seeing a filmmaker who I think deserves many more chances than she's had. 3 films in 20 years. There's also a fold out, and we get an essay by Garish Shambu, and this is black on white. Always my favorite for a essay in these booklets. But there's not a whole lot of the cover, the art in this film is very surrealistic, almost, I guess you'd say. And the film really isn't. I imagine you could call it somewhat surrealistic, certainly the ending. And you have to be reminded of Louis Buñuel's Los Obligados, at least I was, especially in these slum conditions that existed. So we have this essay by Garish Shambu. And then we also have an essay on the other side. We actually have 2 essays, white on black, a little bit more tougher for me to read, but still manageable. This by Barry Jenkins, who made Moonlight. And it's basically a memoir. He had met Lynn Ramsey at a film festival, I think Telluride, when he was still starting out, and he was so impressed by her short films, inspired by her, and you can see Lynn Ramsey's influence, at least in Moonlight. And her approach to film really suited what Barry Jenkins wanted to do in his own career. So overall, this is the kind of movie that I probably would never watch, but because because I'm not too attuned to miserableness. I don't mind bleakness, but miserable. You know, I need to have a little bit of humor along the way. And there's I guess a moment or two of humor in this film. But it's good sometimes to watch movies that don't exactly meet your own emotional needs, and I was disappointed that it was light on the extras, especially considering that High Sierra and Incredible Shrinking Man got, buku supplements. But it's certainly a worthy title to be in the Criterion collection, and although it's not for everybody, I really enjoyed my journey and trying to engage with it. Okay, thanks a lot for everybody who managed to listen to me this far. I really do appreciate it. Comments are welcome. You guys take care.